Well, let's start the insanity. Giddy up.
Oh, what is on your face? Is that a disguise?
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome everybody to another episode of MIATC the Chief, and we're here for a very special episode, Patrick. We're going to talk about a little thing called the 2016 election. Just kidding.
Oh, dear God.
There's a little event happening this week. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the Super Bowl.
No, I never heard of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, good thing, because we're going to talk about that today. We're going to go over both teams. We're going to talk about the Falcons. We're going to talk about the Patriots. And then we're going to talk about the matchup. So no spoilers. We're not going to tell you who we're picking until the end. So, Patrick, let's just go ahead and get right into it. What are you expecting? We're going to start with the Falcons, not for any particular reason, except for, actually, it is a particular reason. A is the first letter of the alphabet, and it's also the first letter of Atlanta. So we're going to start in the ATL, and that's the only reason why. So, Patrick, let's hear from you real quick. Give me some ideas on what you think they can do this coming Sunday.
First off, they can definitely score at will, as they always do. They can definitely use any number of targets. Of course, we all know about Julio Jones and how effective he is. This year, he was second in the league in receiving yards. He had 6 touchdowns, 83 receptions. Yards per game, he was first as far as receivers with just over 100. Obviously, they have other weapons. They've got Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel's coming on the scene. They've got their running backs who can not only run the ball very well. They had a 1,000-yard rusher with Freeman, but also they can catch passes out the backfield.
Yes.
Yeah, they can definitely do that because Freeman had 54 catches. Coleman had 31 with 3 touchdowns. And then not only that, they've got one of the best fullbacks in the league with Patrick DeMarco. Yes, they use fullbacks. Not many teams do, but they do have one of the best. They don't use the tight ends as much. Their tight ends usually block more than anything. But they have caught 2 or 3 touchdowns apiece with Austin Hooper and Tuiololo. I don't really know how to say his name that well. Tuiololo. But still, they've got plenty of weapons. Of course, you've got Matt Ryan, MVP contender. From what I found,
He's okay.
On the middle, he's okay. His Matty Ice nickname is kind of dumb, but
I had it first.
But,
Actually, I don't know if I had it first. It's a little side story. My high school football coach started calling me that. God, it had to have been I think he started calling me that my sophomore, maybe my junior year, or in between my sophomore and junior year. And that was kind of before the other Matty Ice burst onto the scene. So,
the junior year of high school for you would have been
2006.
Really?
Yeah, I'm old.
You're older than I thought.
Yeah, because 05, 06, 07 were my football seasons. I graduated in 08, so yeah, 06.
Yeah.
That was before he was on the cover of NCAA. So
yeah.
Throwback to that game. But yeah, so anyways, you bring up a couple big names on this offense. And I think it goes without saying that obviously this offense is the number 1 offense in the league at 33.8 points per game. That's pretty good. Easily the best this year. In the last 6 games, the 6-game winning streak that they're on, they're looking at about 39 points a game. So, again, that's pretty good. And if you look at the 2 playoff games so far, they've scored a total of 80 points in those 2 games. So, Can they score points? Yes, they can score
they
points.
definitely can.
This is a good offense. But I actually really like this defense. Obviously, Dan Quinn, being a former Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator, has tried to set up a defense very similar to that in Atlanta. And I think, really, honestly, I think he's still really a year or two away from having the defense where he wants it. And that's
Absolutely.
kind of a scary thing, that the offense is this good while the defense is, not quite as good. If you look at team rankings for the year, in yards allowed, they're actually 25th ish.
Yep.
Passing yards allowed, they're 28th.
Yep.
Touchdowns, 28th. So, rushing, they're a little bit better, 17 in terms of rushing yards. So, a defense that, the trick of it is that I think they're very much a bend don't break defense, not as much as the Seahawks have they've been really good at scoring defense, but they've been willing to give up yards in the past couple of years, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing with this defense too. They'll give up some yards, and that's not ideal, but they also force a lot of field goals. They also don't let you score a whole lot of touchdowns,
Right.
and as you mentioned with their offense, it's kind of a, if you can, they're playing decent defense, but then they're scoring so daggone much. Doesn't really matter.
They're scoring so daggone much, and then even if you can hold them to the field goal, they have the best field goal kicker in the league, and Matt Bryant. He's first in scoring.
Yeah, so, what do you do at that point? So let me ask you this. If you were to have to give me, well, you're going to have to give me, so it's not if, you are. Give me your X factor for this game. From the Falcons, obviously.
I'm going to say the X factor is going to be Vic Beasley on their defense. He was first in the league in sacks. He had about 15 and a half. The O-line for the Patriots isn't the best. I want to say actually they're the bottom half in the league as far as offensive line rankings go. Actually 31st in the league in pass, 12th in rushing as far as their O-line goes. But I want to see how Vic Beasley, who's second year in the league, how he handles the big stage. Also, as far as defense goes, they have 3 defensive starters who are rookies, probably another 1 or 2 who contribute who are rookies. I want to see how that young defense in general plays out. They have, I want to say, 2 linebackers with Deion Jones and Devondre Campbell, who are rookies, and then Keanu Neal, their first-round draft pick. But I want to see how well the young, obviously, linebackers and secondary plays out. But as far as one X factor, Vic Beasley would be my guy.
Well, your X factor's on defense, and mine for the Falcons is actually also on defense. You kind of mentioned him. Keanu Neal is my X factor for this game, because if you look at, and we're going to talk about the Patriots here in a minute, so I'm not going to spoil too much of what we're going to say about that. But if you look at the way the Patriots play, a very important guy in the opposing team's defense is obviously their safety. He's going to be asked to do a lot. He's going to be asked to help in run support. He's definitely going to be asked to help in the passing game. A passing game that's built on inside slot receivers for the most part with some of their guys. And so, it's gonna be one of those games where he really has to show out, and he is. We've mentioned this on the show before. We mentioned it a couple weeks ago when we were talking about them playing the Seahawks. Actually, he's very similar in terms of play style to Cam Chancellor, and Cam Chancellor has played against a Patriots team before and played pretty good against a Patriots team a couple times, and so I think the play of him is going to determine a lot how that defense goes. Now, Vic Beasley, I'm glad you brought him up because I think he's also very important. But the trick is going to be with him is to see what how the Patriots line up offensively to try and keep him off the field. He's very much a pass rushing specialist. He's good at other stuff, but he's obviously very, very good at pass rushing. But if you look at his amount of snaps played for the season compared to how many plays the defense has been on the field, he's only at 60.4%. So,
a whole lot.
Yeah,
Not really much.
you know, and for a guy who's really supposed to be more of a linebacker, that's not a high percentage. And so I think, and again, we're not going to talk Patriots too much, but I think the Patriots are going to try to line up to keep him off the field as much as possible. Now, what that might mean is that might mean that they're in a lot of two tight end sets. So we'll see how that goes. And if that's the case, that makes Keanu Neal's job even more important because he will be on the field the entire time. So that's my X factor on the defense. Now, Patrick, we've talked about all the good stuff. We're getting deep into some stats here. What do you think? I'm trying to think of what I had a question and then I forgot what that question was. What do you think is more important? That Julio Jones has a big game or that one of the other receivers has a big game? In terms of if Atlanta is going to win, who has to have the biggest game on the offense besides Matt Ryan? Because Matt Ryan he'll have to have a big game, but obviously their offense is built around the passing game. So who's going to have the big game on the offensive side of the football for them to succeed?
I think the running backs are going to have a big game in order to succeed. I mean, Julio Jones makes an impact whether he catches 5 balls for 120 yards or whether he's shut out. We've seen at least 1 or 2 games where Julio Jones really doesn't do much, but he opens up opportunities for other receivers to have big games. And so in that sense, yeah, he does still have a big impact. I think the receivers, especially as far as a rushing standpoint, definitely need to have a big game because there's a lot of times where we see Devonta Freeman have 12 yards, 20 yards, kind of hurts the Falcons' offense a little bit, hurts their flow. Obviously, they have a two-headed monster, Freeman and Coleman. Coleman had some injury problems this year, only had 520 yards rushing. Still had 8 touchdowns, though. Which definitely helps them. But I need to see the Falcons' run game open up, which obviously would create some opportunities for the pass game. But if they can't get a good run game going on, I think it's going to cause some trouble for them.
Yeah, I think, Bill Belichick, if you look at him historically as a coach, and again, not talking too much Patriots, but they attempt to shut down the best player on the opposing team's offense, which obviously is going to be Julio Jones. Now, the trick is that you have to be real careful because you can't really double Julio Jones, because if you double Julio Jones, that leaves a ton of people open. You look at Matt Ryan this season, and this is part of why he's had such a good season, is that he's had touchdown passes to 13 different receivers. That's pretty darn good. And that's including Jones. If you decide to double Julio Jones, you also have to contend with the fact that Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, as you mentioned, this season have combined for 2,482 yards and 24 touchdowns from scrimmage. Obviously, that's not just running the ball. It's also catching the ball. But that's a lot of yards from 2 guys. And so that's, compounding with having to stop Julio Jones. You also then have to stop them. One of the things, too, and I think you mentioned the running backs being the most important. I agree with you on that. And not so much even necessarily from the running game. But Tevin Coleman, particularly, I think has to have a good game in the receiving game. So far this year, he's averaging 13.6 yards per reception, which leads the running backs in 2016, which is a pretty big deal because if you can get your running back involved in the passing game, again, that spreads things out. It makes Keanu Neal have to play a little bit more to the running back and a little bit less to help corners. So then you run into a situation where you could end up with Malcolm Butler being left on an island with Julio Jones. As good as Malcolm Butler is, anybody on an island with Julio Jones is not a great place to be. So maybe avoid that. And I'll leave it with one last stat, and then if you have anything else that you feel you need to add on them, you can, because I think this is why you can try and stop Jones, but does it really matter?
It really doesn't.
Let's not forget Julio Jones missed 2 games this year. Those 2 games The Falcons won both of them by a combined score of 83-27. So just because you stop Julio Jones does not mean you can stop this offense. There's a lot of weapons. So good luck to that. You got anything to add about the Falcons before we move on to some Patriot talk?
Real quick, I'm interested to see how this makeshift, I say makeshift, they kind of made it for the most part in the offseason this last year. I'm interested to see how it plays out. Fourth best O-line, according to, I believe, Pro Football Talk. Fourth best O-line in the league. Eighth best in rushing, sixth in pass. Also, the O-line, third in penalties. So probably not going to see a lot of holding calls and hands to the face and those kind of deals.
Yeah. One thing to keep an eye on, and then we'll move on, since you brought up the O-line, is the health of Alex Mack.
Yep.
I know it's the Super Bowl, so everybody who can possibly stand up is going to try and play. But that's a guy to keep an eye on. Their starting center. If he goes down, anytime an offensive lineman goes down in a big game like that, it can be an issue. So keep an eye out on that. Other than that, Patrick, that is our quick breakdown for just the Falcons for this game. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about, the New England Patriots. So hang around, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, guys, and now it's time to move on to the New England Patriots, the other team in the game, as if you didn't know they were playing. So, Patrick, we'll do very similar to what we just did with them. Let's talk about the Patriots a little bit. Tell me what you're thinking about them.
Obviously, you have the GOAT, Tom Brady, second this year as far as deep ball accuracy, as far as quarterbacks go. Interesting notes, probably one of the worst O-lines this year. It's kind of a makeshift O-line, but not in a good sense. As I mentioned, for the Falcons, they built theirs up pretty well last year. Not really doing so hot this year for the Patriots. 25th in the league. To have one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, they are one of the worst pass-protecting O-lines. They're like almost dead last. 12th in the league in rushing. Which obviously we could tell that because LeGarrette Blount, their leading back, had league-leading 18 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
18.
That's not too bad.
So obviously, I would say that they're going to try to. The Patriots are an interesting team in the sense that sometimes their game plan is relying heavily on the rush. Sometimes it's relying heavily on the pass. Sometimes a healthy mix. Part of me thinks that they're going to try to rely on the run game a little bit. They've got, obviously, James White. They've got LeGarrette Blount. They've got some other guys who could come in and carry the ball. I think that Blount is going to be a key factor for them. Obviously, they give out other weapons with Edelman, Bennett, who's a little banged up, even though he's still going to play. Chris Hogan, James White, like I mentioned, Amendola, who's kind of had a low year. I want to say he's around just the upper end of 250 receiving yards this year, probably a handful of touchdowns still. But anytime you have Tom Brady on the field, you can win at any time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's okay.
That
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it roundabout way. I think the question with the Patriots is always kind of who's the star going to be, and this week, last week it was Chris Hogan with 180 yards. This week it could be Dion Lewis, who's a little bit healthier, but also had 3 touchdowns in New England's playoff opener. Edelman's got 84 career playoff receptions, so that's another guy that obviously Tom Brady likes and feels comfortable throwing the football to in a big game. You mentioned Martellus Bennett, who is replacing obviously the injured Gronk, and that hasn't seemed to slow them down too much this year. So, on offense, who are you going to look to? I'm not sure. And in a sense, that makes me less worried because at least with the Falcons, you know what you're going to get. Now, granted, they can still get the ball to Mohamed Sanu. They can still get the ball to Taylor Gabriel, but they want to get the ball to either Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, or obviously Julio Jones, I think are the three people they want to get the ball to. With the Patriots, who knows week to week? It could be literally anybody who is on that team. So I think that's a scary proposition if you're looking at it from a defensive standpoint. We mentioned Chris Hogan had 180 yards last week on 9 catches for 2 touchdowns. The trouble with playing against the Patriots is that Tom Brady is one of the most intelligent quarterbacks in the history of the game. He's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game, no matter how you slice it. Super Bowl wins, regular season wins, yardage, this sort of that. No matter how you want to look at it, this guy is one of the greatest of all time. I would probably say the greatest of all time at this point. I think, he's going for his 5th Super Bowl win. No other quarterback has done that, so that's something to keep an eye on. The thing that is interesting to me, and it's something that we might see more of in this game because, and I'll say it because we haven't seen it all season, and that's kind of what the Patriots are really good at, is that they they tend to, in big games, do what we don't expect them to do. Now, Tom Brady, I can't find the stats. I saw a stat earlier this weekend. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league running in no huddle, running plays in no huddle. But they only went to the no huddle 8.22% of the time this season. And most of that was, final 2 minutes, that sort of thing. But you look at a lot of the games where he played, you go looking in the past, and you look, I think all you have to do is go look to the last Super Bowl they won against the Seattle Seahawks. What did they start doing in the fourth quarter? They really started going a little bit no huddle, trying to speed up, and Tom Brady played really, really good during that time. So that's something that I wouldn't be surprised if they go to a little bit more this week than they have so far this season. Of course, you start doing that because, and I think to throw a little bit towards the Falcons, I mentioned Vic Beasley not being on the field a whole lot. Well, if you go no huddle, they're not super deep. I don't think the Falcons are super deep on the defensive line. I mean, you got Dwight Freeney, he's an older guy. You got Jonathan Babineau, he's an older guy. Vic Beasley is going to be rushing the passer a lot when he's in. Now the problem is if you're playing defense against a team that goes no huddle, you do one of two things. Either you have to sub a ton, or you risk having tired guys on the field. Now,
which risk injuries with that as well.
And you talk about the Patriots not having a good offensive line. What's a good way to have a not great offensive line perform better? Play against a tired defensive line. It's one of the ways to kind of counterbalance a good defensive line is to really speed up the rate of play. So, like I said, again, all that being said, I think that the Patriots, if I were Bill Belichick, he's obviously smarter at football than I am, so he'll have a plan. But if I'm him, I'm going to push maybe the no huddle a little bit more than has been the trend so far this season. Because obviously you got the best quarterback, so you're not super worried about a quarterback who can't handle that kind of pressure in that kind of game. But it also, again, it balances out and helps your offensive line against a fairly good defensive line. Again, Dwight Freeney, an older guy, Jonathan Babineau, an older guy, so you look for them to run out of gas maybe if you can push the tempo. All that being said, and we haven't even talked about the Patriots defense, who, I don't know, is the top scoring defense. We mentioned the Falcons being the top scoring offense, Patriots the top scoring defense. Although, let's not forget Tom Brady, and I'll close out my Tom Brady talk, a 28-2 touchdown to interception ratio this year, so he's doing all right. But this is a Patriots defense that has been pretty good. They've played, they allowed the 6th most points in the regular season. Wait, that was the wrong stat. My bad. because they're the number one scoring defense. So obviously they couldn't do that. So I think this is a defense that maybe has been underrated. But all that aside, Patrick, let's get to it. Who's your X factor for the Patriots?
X factor for me, this is tough. I would say probably LeGarrette Blount for the Patriots as far as opening up. Obviously, Tom Brady doesn't need help opening up the pass game, but LeGarrette Blount, with him scoring 18 touchdowns, definitely can open up the pass game. Also, in my opinion, our boy Trey Flowers is another X factor. He's great at rushing the passer. I think he had around 10 sacks, give or take.
It's 7, which is the Patriots' leader.
That's what I thought.
Because I was gonna mention something about that actually.
Always hitting the quarterback, whether it's sacks, whether it's still knocking him down. Patriots as a team are tied for third in forced fumbles with 19. I think Trey Flowers has a big thing to say about that. The secondary, I think, is going to get exposed in a sense, even though you have good guys on that secondary. About middle of the pack as far as interceptions, middle of the pack as far as pass deflections. A little bit better as far as passing yards per game, but at the same time, they're 12th in the league. A lot better at defending the rush, only 88 and change yards per game, tied for third best in the league. So I would definitely say, as far as offense, Flowers, and defense, or flip that around. Defense, Flowers, and offense, LeGarrette Blount.
Offensively, I'm kind of gonna stick to that position, I think, but maybe switch it around a little bit. I think this, what we could see James White play a big role in this game. Tom Brady likes throwing to running backs in Super Bowls. He's done it plenty. I don't know, is James White even on the list? Yeah, he's on the roster. He'll be active because that's always a question with the Patriots. You never know who they're randomly going to have inactive. But he's got 60 catches this season. And if you go back again to that Seahawks Super Bowl, Tom Brady threw 11 passes to Shane Vereen in that Super Bowl. So don't be surprised if he gets a lot of time in the backfield catching passes out of there. Defensively, defensively for the Patriots, I'm gonna say there's 2 X factors. I know that's kind of cheating, but I'm gonna say Malcolm Butler is obviously maybe not an X factor because we know he's gonna play. I'm confident that he can play good. But he's going to be probably the most important player. The more X factor of who needs to have a big game, I would say, is Devin McCourty. He's got to have a big game in terms of playing safety again. It's like I really like the safety position on defense. I think it's important for him to really match up against obviously Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman, helping in run support, but also being able to help out of the backfield. If you go a little man-to-man, or if you're the drop or the forward safety in cover 3 and in playing those running backs coming out of the backfield. So those would be my guys that I think are X factors. I think special teams in this game is kind of a wash. I mean, I know Matt Bryant is the top scoring one, but Steven Gostkowski is an okay kicker himself. And so I think it's kind of I don't necessarily think you gain either. Either team's got a real advantage there. Neither one of them has had neither one of them had a return touchdown in the regular season. Deion Lewis did have one though in the divisional round, so maybe you give a slight advantage to them. And I'm also going to hate on Atlanta a little bit for cutting J.D. McKissick, even though that gave him to Seattle. I think their return game might have been a little bit better. So one thing to look out for again with that though is the Patriots. This is a weird stat that I'm kind of that I'm kind of surprised exists. The Patriots have 11 combined fumbles on kickoff and punt returns this season. So that's which is the most by any team in a decade. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Definitely.
So other than that, Patrick, do you have anything else we need to know about the Patriots before we start talking matchups?
One thing to look out for is the third down efficiency for the Patriots. When the Patriots get the third down, they are 46.1% efficient in third down, second in the league. Also have the third most attempts on third down. So
You know why
they may have to ball out on third down, but they, for the most part,
you know why
they're
they're
still
good on third down?
because of Brady.
Tom Brady. The only other thing I would say is this is a weird, or not a weird stat, but this is a stat that I'll give it. Patriots record with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in the playoffs against a team they didn't face in the regular season. You got any idea?
I have no idea.
They are 12-0
Ooh.
against teams that they didn't face in the regular season. So that that's they didn't play the Falcons. So maybe that's something. If I were a betting man, maybe that's something I might look to get that. So Patrick, that is a Patriots side of the football. We've talked Falcons, we've talked Patriots. Now we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back and talk both of them together and talk a little bit of matchups. So hang on, and we will be right back. All right, and we are back again for the last segment before the Super Bowl, Patrick. So let's talk a little matchups now, because we've talked about both teams. Obviously, they're both in the Super Bowl. They're both good football teams. They're both pretty efficient on both sides of the ball. So now we need to talk about how they're going to match up against each other. So we're going to get our picks later, a little bit later, because we're in the last little segment here. But let's talk a little bit about their matchup, Patrick. Who do you think has the advantage on the offensive side of the football?
I'm going to say Atlanta has the edge on the offensive side. Neither defense is known for forcing a lot of turnovers. Neither team is known, aside from Malcolm Butler, neither team is known for having a great secondary. It's not that they're a terrible secondary, just not a lot of big names going to be out there, not a lot of interception for either team. Falcons defense is tied for 18th in the league for interceptions. The Patriots was tied for 15th in the league. So really not much difference there. Both had about the same amount of sacks. The Patriots don't really do well as far as pass deflections either. They're middle of the pack with 70. However, like you mentioned, Quinn is developing that Seahawks-style defense. They are tied for third in the league for pass deflections. Only 15 more, but at the same time, towards the top of the league. Mm-hmm. Having said that, Matt Ryan's ability to spread the field with the amount of weapons he has as far as receivers, as far as running backs, with DeMarco at fullback, even the tight end position, with Hooper and Tuliolo, as far as their blocking ability and as far as getting open. Austin Hooper has actually done very well for him being, I want to say he's a rookie. I think he was a rookie out of Stanford this year.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'll go with him being a rookie because I want to say that's right.
Somebody tweet at us and correct us if it's not.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong, the Patriots you can say the same thing about the Patriots. But I feel like they have more weapons as far as the Falcons' offense is concerned. So as far as offense, I'm going to give the edge to the Falcons. Plus, they have like I mentioned earlier, one of the best O-lines.
That's true.
That helps.
You mentioned interceptions and stuff. The interesting thing, and it's not really a surprise that the two teams in the Super Bowl are highly ranked in it. The takeaway differential for Atlanta is +11. That's good for fourth in the league. Patriots +12, which is good for third in the league. So what's that tell you? What that tells you is the defense gets some turnovers, but not a whole lot really, because you've got two good quarterbacks who don't turn the ball over on the other side. So that can be a misleading stat. Sometimes just because of that. Matt Ryan only throwing 7 interceptions this year. Tom Brady, of course, only throwing 2. So he's doing okay.
Missed 4 games, but still, whenever you play, 12 games
yeah,
in the regular season, only 2 picks, I say you're doing fine.
Yeah, you look offensively, the Patriots are the 4th ranked offense in total yards. 70% of that comes from passing. 30% comes from rushing the ball. If you go over to the Falcons are 2nd ranked in total yards. 71% from passing, 29% from rushing. Matt Ryan with 4,725 yards. Well, I guess that may not be his. Well, let me look up his real quick.
I'm going to say
4,000.
Say it's
4,944 yards. Matt Schaub's got 1 pass for 16 yards. So you want to give old Matty Schaub his due. You got 1,928 yards rushing for the Falcons. Devontae Freeman has 1,079 of those. Flip over to the Patriots. Tom Brady doesn't have 4,308 yards, but that's what the team has. Tom Brady is actually sitting at 3,554. Of course, Tom Brady, as you mentioned, missed those 4 games. Garoppolo had 502 yards in his absence, and Jacoby Brissett had 400 yards in his absence. So both of those guys played 2 games. So,
right.
So this is a team that can throw the football. Both teams can throw the football really, really well. Both teams, Matt Ryan, 38 touchdowns. Patriots finished with 32 touchdowns, 28 of which were Tom Brady's. You look at leading receivers, Julian Edelman sitting at over 1,000 yards. Obviously, Julio Jones at 1,400 yards. LeGarrette Blount, as you kind of mentioned, leads the league in touchdowns at 18, over 1,000 yards rushing. So we've got 2 highly powered offenses. And so this is where I think offensively, I'm gonna mostly agree with you that
Sure.
I think the Falcons have a slight advantage in the offense, and that, except I don't, because they don't have Tom Brady, and I don't want to sit on Tom Brady too much, but Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, without giving away picks or anything yet, Tom Brady is very, very hard to bet against in a Super Bowl. 4-2 record in the Super Bowl. The only 2 losses being to that turd bucket Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin. So you throw those games out, he's got 4 wins. Yeah, so that's that. I think I give Tom Brady a slight edge. The offense as a whole, I give to the Falcons, but I give Tom Brady the edge over Matt Ryan, despite the fact that Matt Ryan's had a better season. I still give the edge to Tom Brady because he is the GOAT. So a little bit of mixed. That's kind of wishy-washy cheating on my part, but yeah, whatever. This is my show.
Whatever.
If you don't want me to be wishy-washy, come on it. You people. Sorry, I'm berating the listeners for a second. I apologize for that. So let's switch over to the defense.
Do that.
I know. We love our listeners, so thank you guys. We're just giving you a hard time. Defense. Let's talk about that. Now, the Patriots, yes, number 1 ranked in terms of points allowed. The Falcons are ranked 27th in that regard.
Right.
Both have 34 sacks. Patriots have 23 takeaways. Falcons have 22 takeaways. Who do you give the advantage to in this game? Who do you give the advantage to defensively?
I'm going to give the edge to the Patriots as far as defensively. One, I think they have more guys who can rush the pass. Obviously, there's some veterans on Atlanta who can rush. As far as historically, you've got Babineau, who's been good at rushing the pass. You've got, obviously, you've got a guy who's led the league in sacks on your defense. Then you got Dwight Freeney, who I know is a Colts fan.
You watched him a time or 2.
I've watched them a time or two. Also a Super Bowl win under his belt. But you can't ignore the fact that they are the best in points per game for defense. You can't ignore the fact that they are third in the league in forced fumbles. You can't ignore the fact that they are third in the league against the run, eighth in the league as far as yards allowed. Not only that, but you've got Malcolm Butler, who has made plays in a Super Bowl before. He could probably make some plays in the Super Bowl again. But one key factor, I think, the Patriots have traded away core guys of their defense and are still going strong. Jamie Collins now in Cleveland. You've got Chandler Jones now in Arizona. Still, obviously, one of the best defenses in scoring. Not only that, there's core guys still there from past Super Bowl runs. And Atlanta's got some rookies that are going to be playing in this game. Obviously, there's going to be a handful of rookies for the Patriots, but their core guys are key veteran guys who have contributed in the Super Bowl. Whenever you've got three starters in Atlanta's defense who are rookies, one or two other guys contributing who are rookies. So I'm going to give the edge to the Patriots defense for that reason.
Yeah, Patriots, not only the top scoring defense, they're ranked third in defensive rush yards allowed per game at 88 yards per game. They're 12th in stopping the pass at 237 yards a game. You flip that over to Atlanta. Atlanta is 28th in pass yards allowed per game at 266. Of course, they're in the division and have to play Drew Brees twice. That never helps.
That never helps.
But you look at their rush yards allowed per game, they're 17th at 104 yards per game. And I think that, if nothing else, I give New England the advantage defensively there because I think New England has the ability, even though they haven't faced an offense anywhere near this the caliber of an offense that the Falcons are. They allowed 15.6 points per game. That's pretty nuts.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We're talking about a team that that is able to make teams, I think, one-dimensional in a lot of ways and force them to do what they want them to do. And I think that they have the ability to do that to New England. I don't think on the flip side that Atlanta quite has that ability yet to do that to New England. Now they could show up and do that in this game, but I don't think they're quite there yet. If nothing else, because they aren't as good at stopping the run. And any football coach will tell you if they're a defensive coach, the first thing they'll tell you is we got to stop the run. If they're an offensive coach, the first thing they'll say is we got to establish the run. And I think New England, and it partly goes back to offense, I think offensively they're going to be able to establish a run better because Atlanta's defense isn't quite as good at that, which then gives Tom Brady an advantage, again, to throw the football in a defense that's then trying to stop the run, but getting gashed and not able to stop the run. Because LeGarrette Blount is the type of guy who, if you give him holes, will run you over and will make his own space, even if he has to. And you're not quite a defense built to do that yet. So I give the advantage there to to New England. So Patrick, we've given the advantages to both teams. Now let's talk matchup. You can make your pick. You can wait until the end of what you have to say here, or you can just sprinkle it in there, make your pick at some point in time. But let's hear what you have to say. Kind of give it a final nail, so to speak, in your Super Bowl pick.
Who I want to win is going to be different from who I think will win.
Okay.
Because, like I've mentioned before, New England does have a solid pass rush. Even with Alex Mack a little banged up, I'd say probably a little bit more than a little banged up, but he'll still play. He'll still be solid. Still one of the best O-lines in the league. even though there's Malcolm Butler on New England's secondary, Malcolm Butler can't cover 4 to 5 guys on the field because there are 4 to 5 guys on that field who can make plays at any time. Matt Ryan, the best deep ball accuracy, deep ball thrower in the league this year. Matt Ryan has Taylor Gabriel to play with. He's got Julio Jones, obviously, to play with. He's got 2 great running backs who can catch the ball and hand the ball off to on the field. He's got a great fullback on the field that can open up and make plays. He's got Mohamed Sanu, who's historically known to make plays on the field. Also had 4 touchdowns. Their receivers are also pretty solid in yards after catch. They've only allowed 11 sacks. They are 11th as far as sacks allowed with 37. Pretty solid. Matt Ryan doesn't make too many interceptions, only thrown 7. Thrown 38 pass touchdowns, first in points per game. They can score at will, and I don't know the stat off the top of my head. I don't have it written down. But I'm going to say when they can score first, it's almost a no-brainer that they're going to win. Also, another interesting stat that I haven't mentioned yet, they have attempted the least amount of third downs in the league.
That's usually pretty good.
They're 11th in third down efficiency, but they've only attempted 70. Well, they've got 75 out of 178. 178 is least in the league. Also, they've only fumbled the ball 4 times, only lost 2 of them as far as their offense is concerned. I am giving the Falcons the edge to win this game. I want the Patriots to win this game for the single fact, like we mentioned last week, that we want Roger Goodell to have to go down on the podium with the entire New England Patriots team, handing the ball to handing the game ball, let's say, to Robert Kraft, handing the trophy to Belichick, handing the trophy to Tom Brady. Not only that, but having to be on the same podium with the entire team that he has avoided at all costs this entire year. So that's who I want to win, but I don't think it will happen. I think the Atlanta Falcons will win this game. Not only that, do you remember a little game in 2013 between the 49ers and the Ravens?
Yes, the blackout game.
The blackout game.
Are you expecting something like that?
I am 100% expecting something like that if the Patriots are winning late third, early fourth quarter. I'm not saying what happened in New Orleans was on purpose. I'm not saying that Goodell or someone and his team had something to do with it.
But if it were to conveniently happen again.
But if the Patriots are winning late third, early fourth quarter, something like that will happen because he does not want them to win.
Well, I've got the over on at least one thing conspiracy theory-like happening in the Super Bowl, but I was leaning towards it more being Lady Gaga related. So we'll have to see who's right about the conspiracy theory in terms of this game. You know, this is a game that I've kind of gone back and forth on week to week. Like you, we've mentioned on the last show that if I were to pick who I wanted to win, it would be the Patriots because of the reasons you stated. If we're going with who's going to win, which is obviously who I'm going to pick, I look back to a couple years ago, I think, because a couple years ago in this very same game is probably the best I can do in terms of talking about a team that the Brady-led Patriots have played, similar to the team that they're going to play in this game. That being the Super Bowl where they beat my Seattle Seahawks. if you look in that game, they weren't able to run the football. 21 rushes for 57 yards. Tom Brady threw 50 passes in that game. 37 completions, 328 yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw 2 interceptions, and they still managed to win that game. I think what you're probably going to see is an offense from the Patriots that more closely resembles the offense that played in that game. Because I think they had a lot of success against that defense of the Seahawks. And obviously, we've talked about it multiple times, how Dan Quinn has tried to replicate that defense in Atlanta, and it's part of the reason they've gotten to where they are. That being said, I don't think that defense is nearly as good as that Seahawks defense was, and Tom Brady was still able to put up 328 yards passing, 4 touchdown passes. Of course, again, he did throw the two interceptions, but I think they're better equipped to run the football this year. So I think, and this Atlanta defense is less inclined to stop the run. So I think I give the edge. I know we talked about giving the edge or whatever. I think that the Patriots are going to be able to do what they want offensively. So then the question becomes, what can they do defensively to stop this team and that to stop the Falcons? And that's where you run into the question. I will say, I'm still going to pick the Patriots to win this game. If nothing else, then the top scoring offense versus the top scoring defense in the Super Bowl. This is the 7th meeting between these two teams. Well, not these two teams, but those two types of teams: the stingiest defense and the top scoring offense. The defense is 5-1 in those games, so it lends itself to the Patriots being the team that would come out on top. Obviously, Matt Ryan is not the typical maybe team in that. But if you look at games, if you look at Super Bowls tend to be, and championship games in general, you look at any sport, championship games tend to be ugly games, tend to not be the best played games. I think that the Patriots team is more equipped to win an ugly game than the Falcons are. I think for the Falcons to win this game, they have to get off to a quick start, which in their last 8 games, they've scored a touchdown on their first drive in the last 8 games. So they're good at getting off to a quick start. But I think they have to get off to a quick start in this game in order to even have it, not to even have a chance, but to have a chance to win this game. Because I think for them, it has to go more perfect than it does for the Patriots. The Patriots they play in the AFC East with that nasty, they're always playing crappy they play a lot of crappy teams. Let's be fair. They play the Bills, they play the Jets, they play the Dolphins. Dolphins are a better team than.
Fun fact: I don't think I saw this for the Patriots, but I don't think I forgot to look it up. But the Falcons have the toughest schedule this year, tied for first, I believe, with the 49ers.
The Patriots do not have the toughest schedule. I can tell you that much.
They've also played some terrible quarterbacks all year.
They have. And so that kind of...
Russell Wilson.
Well, no, Russell Wilson's played like crap this season, but at times he played like crap this season.
Best quarterback that they played this year.
Because they couldn't run the football. So, I mean, yes, that's something that you definitely have to consider when you talk about this Patriots defense being the number one scoring defense. And they played... they played the Buffalo Bills. They played the Cleveland Browns. They've played some teams that aren't that good. The New York Jets a couple times. But I do think, again, I think for the Falcons to win this game, it has to be perfect. They're the team, I think, in this case, that have to have things go their way early in order to succeed. Again, the Patriots, they've been here before. They've been here a lot of times before. If something crazy happens, well, it wouldn't be too crazy, but say LeGarrette Blount fumbles on the opening drive and Vic Beasley takes it to the house, or Keanu Neal takes it to the house. It's not... The Patriots aren't going to be in a situation, if that happens, like the Broncos were against the Seahawks, where one thing bad happens and everything goes to poop. The Falcons, I think, are more likely to be that. If Matt Ryan throws an early interception and the Patriots take the lead, or Devontae Freeman fumbles and the Patriots take an early lead, I think that affects the Falcons more than it does the Patriots. Also, if we're being 100% honest, I just can't bet against Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick with a week off. Bill Belichick in a Super Bowl. Bill Belichick not having to play the Tom Coughlin and poophead New York Giants. Can you tell I don't like Eli? If you've never listened to the show before, I am not an Eli Manning fan.
Neither of us are big Eli Manning fans.
But I am more anti-Manning than you are.
More anti-Eli Manning.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick the Patriots, not just because I want them to win, but because I think they can win. Sure. Because I think this is going to be an ugly, typical Super Bowl. It's going to be kind of ugly. It's going to be kind of mucky, and muck duck. I think the R is the most menacing sound. Lost quote. And the Patriots have an R in their name, so that's another reason, because R is a more menacing sound than a C. Otherwise, it'd be called muck duck.
That's right.
So that's that. Patrick, do you have anything else to add that I maybe missed out on? Also, Tom Brady is 4-0 in his career against the Falcons. Granted, none of the teams have ever been as good as they are now, but Tom Brady 4-0 against the Falcons.
I don't have anything to add as far as in the game, but how are we on time, first off, before I do this?
Let me check. We got about 3 minutes.
Real quick.
I
found some interesting prop bets that you can do in the Super Bowl.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's get a couple, and we'll make we're not putting real money on it, but we'll take the props.
We're not putting money on it anyway.
Yeah.
And these aren't, during the, they're going to be during the game, but it's not like how many yards are Brady going to have.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we all know what a prop bet is.
Kind of fun things.
Yeah.
First one I found. What will Luke Bryan be wearing when he sings the national anthem? Blue jeans?
Yeah.
Or pants? Any other pants or shorts? Blue jeans is 1 to 2. Any other pants or shorts is 3 to 2.
I'm going. If I were to take that bet, I'd put money on blue jeans and a big belt buckle.
It's in Houston, so I'm going to say blue jeans.
Yeah.
How many times will Trump be said on TV during broadcasts? Over, under 1.5.
Oh, over.
Over.
I think so. If nothing else, it'll be said multiple times during the halftime show. So, and that'll be on TV. So I'm going to go with the over on that.
What color will Lady Gaga's hair be when she comes on stage for the halftime show, or if she starts off on the roof? Blonde is 1 to 4. Any other color, 5 to 2.
I would take non-blonde.
I'm going to say I would take any other color as well.
Yeah. She's got to do something crazy. So maybe she'll come out in blonde. I guess that is a good prop bet to have, because you'd think, okay, yeah, for sure she's going to go crazy, but maybe she's not. Maybe she's not going to go crazy. But I would still go with the other colors.
I'm going to go with other colors as well.
I would say pink would be a likely color.
Some of these are kind of obvious. How many times will J.J. Watt be mentioned on TV during the live broadcast?
What's the over-under on that? 4?
Over 1 is 5 to 7. Under 1 is even. 1 to 1. I'm going to say it's definitely the over.
It's definitely the over. That's way too low, because he's going to be I guarantee he'll be at the game, standing on the sideline. He will be on camera more than once.
Yes. How many times will Gisele Bündchen be shown on TV during the broadcast? Over 1.5 is 11 to 10. Under 1.5, 2 to 3. Well, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to say she'll be shown. No. The entire broadcast. I'm going to say over. I'm going to say at least twice.
I'm taking the over. I'm going to say at least 5 times.
Probably.
I'm going to say that. Well, partially because I'm also picking the Patriots, and so I'm assuming the Patriots are going to be in the lead, which means they'll cut the camera to her at some point in time a couple times. So I'm taking the over on that.
Because they'll probably show her at least once if they score and
Yeah.
if Brady throws a touchdown. And if they win, they'll probably show her a second time.
Exactly. At least. So one
Um,
more, and then we got to get out of here.
One more? Well, then I found a perfect one
Perfect one.
to end on. What color will the liquid be that is poured on the winning coach, a.k.a. what color Gatorade will be?
Ooh.
I'll tell you the options that Bovada will have. Clear is 3-1. Lime/green is 3-1. Orange 3-1. Yellow 3-1. Red 6-1. Blue 15-2. Purple 12-1.
What color are you taking?
I'm going to take red.
You took mine too because they both have red. So
That's exactly why I thought that, 'cause they both have red.
yeah, the more logical would be that no matter which team wins. Also, it's fruit punch. If we're talking about, is it officially Gatorade or is it another brand?
I'm going to say it's Gatorade. The Bovada, I'm assuming since it has Bovada beside it, that it's going to be how it's worded on Bovada. It says, what color will the liquid be poured? I'm going to say it's going to be Gatorade.
Yeah.
Because Gatorade is big with NFL.
Well,
so.
yeah, and that does play a little bit of a factor. But I'm going to say I would take red because you got the Falcons red and black, you got the Patriots red and blue. So and fruit punch. Who doesn't like fruit punch Gatorade? If we're going to be honest, fruit punch is probably the more universally accepted good flavor. Because don't come at me with that orange being a good flavor of Gatorade crap. Because orange is a poop flavor of Gatorade. I will put my finger down. Orange is terrible. Lemon lime is the second best flavor. Fruit punch is the most universally accepted. Yes. Blue is the best.
That's fair. Plus, I'm glad you mentioned that. In Super Bowl 49, when the Patriots won, they poured blue Gatorade.
Ooh.
So I'm going to say they're going to spice it up because they poured blue Gatorade in Super Bowl 49.
No, you've changed my mind. I'm going blue all the way.
I can see why you would pick blue, but I'm still sticking with my red. Because what if the Falcons win?
Oh, true, but I'm going to stick with my guts and go with the Patriots winning. So I'm going to say blue because
I'm going red.
I can see Belichick being a sneaky, superstitious person. Like, he's not just a little stitious. He's superstitious. And I can see him say, we won last time with blue Gatorade. You're bringing the blue Gatorade again. So
I can definitely see that. But I'm still sticking with my red pick regardless.
Fair enough. It's your money, not mine. So that's that.
Somebody's not going to any of these.
Exactly, so that's that. That's the Super Bowl special for this year. So enjoy the game. Be safe, folks. If you're gonna partake in the adult beverages, please stay where you're at or have somebody else who's not done that drive. Because we like you all and want you all to listen, and we're selfish and download and all that. No, I'm just kidding. We care about you guys, so be careful with that. Eat plenty of wings. Eat plenty of pizza.
Yeah. You got to work on Monday anyway, so
yeah.
Don't worry about any of that other extracurricular stuff.
Until the day when they make the day after the Super Bowl a holiday, which it should be. You have to work, so behave, children. Behave. So that's that. Patrick, the next time we see all of you you'll see us. We won't see you. But the next time you see us, it'll be post NFL season, which means the draft season will 100% have officially started. So look forward to some of that coming down the road. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at MIATC Show on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't. Also at Patrick_Howie, at Matt_Sindelar. Make sure you're following us on Twitter to get all sorts of witty answers about sporting things. Patrick, anything else before we enjoy the Super Bowl?
It's time to go. It's time for me to cheat on my diet on Sunday, and I am excited.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we will see you next time.
Leslie, I typed your symptoms into the thing up here, and it says you could have network connectivity problems.
Baby Jeffrey, forever unclean.
Cool beans, man. I live by the quarry. We should hang out by the quarry and throw things down there.
moccasins anywhere.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
I feel like we're not capturing the elegance we discussed in the production meeting.